Okay. Hi everybody. This is just a follow-up from the event that we had today, planning for the new norm in our SVL homeworking series. So there were a number of questions that we didn't manage to get to during the event because of the amount of discussion, which is not a bad thing, but we sort of ran out of time. So we've decided to do a little follow-up video and send it to you all, trying to answer the questions that we didn't get to. So if I can ask Paul, who's our marketing manager, to read out the questions, and one of the panel will do their very best to answer them for you. Over to you, Paul.
Okay, thanks, Anne. So we'll just go through this in chronological order as they were asked, and we didn't manage to get everybody's, but we did promise we'd get the answers back. So the first question was actually early on in the event, and Imran had been talking about cost savings in office space, both now and going forward. And the question was, they wondered what organisations might then choose to spend the money they are saving on office space on. Would it be on colleague development? Could it be possibly new technology, or even something else?
I'll take that one.
Yep, sure.
So it's a good question, but actually for my organisation, I think it would just go down to savings really, because I think most companies that I'm aware of are making losses at the moment. And I think what we're going to find is, one of the things I was talking about is who wants to come back in the office, but I think the bigger question is, will everyone still be employed? I think once they've kind of whittled it down to who still continue to be in a job, then actually space might not necessarily be an issue. And then it will be the question of, okay, now that we've got our group of people who are still employed, who wants to come back to the office? And I very much doubt it will be a matter of, oh, we've made that saving, where else do we use it? I think it will literally go into the bottom line about making that saving full stop. And I think most companies, and I can speak for our company, will go back to basics really. You know, where do we need to spend our money? Where is it essential to spend our money? And everything else goes back into the bottom line really.
Yeah, and I think that for your organisation who are in the sort of retail sector, you know, I can absolutely see where that's coming from. I don't know if that would be the same for the rest of you guys. What, you know, maybe George, would it be the same for the insurance industry, or do you think differently?
Yeah, I think so. I think the insurance industry is a really competitive industry. You know, comparison websites and all making it very difficult to make a lot of money. So I think that would happen. I think, you know, we are already investing a lot of money in our people, in development, in engagement, all that kind of stuff. And you know, I think we're all going to see an impact. Some companies are seeing, you know, very positive impacts from coronavirus in terms of their in terms of the money that's coming in. You know, we are seeing less in terms of claims, but that's a short-lived thing. You know, as people start to drive again, you know, that will come back. So I think I agree with Imran. I think it'll be the same for us. And I also think with the hybrid approach, you know, if we are keeping people in the office as well as at home, we're not going to see massive savings from not having an office. You know, and if we're having to supply kit for people's homes as well, you know, that's another cost to be aware of. So I don't think it'll make a massive difference for us.
Yeah, good point. And from the banking perspective, Carrie-Anne, do you have any thoughts?
I think exactly the same as both Imran and George have just said. You know, I think it will be, there's costs that will go into other things. And I guess from our perspective, we are going through the midst of integration. So we're bringing two banks together. And everything that brings with it. So realignment and integration of technologies. So, you know, there's a lot that it can be invested in. And I guess the people program's a big, massive part of that, aligning two banks and bringing all the people together under one culture. So there's a lot of development needed there.
Okay, brilliant. I think that quite comprehensively answers that question.
Great stuff, and there was a very quick follow-up from another of the attendees, but it's a very specific question. Do Imran or Carrie-Anne have any inbound voice frontline advisors currently working from home?
Yeah, we do. So we've just started a pilot underway, and really, as I touched on earlier, us migrating to a new telephony platform, which is BT/CCC, has allowed us to do that. On our current platform, that would have been more difficult for us to do. So we had a migration plan of how we were going to migrate to the new platform, it's kind of been turned on its head, because we're now looking to see which services are we able to service from home, because not everything at the moment can be done from home. So we've got a small team of people who are handling a percentage of our calls, and we've got another 40 underway who will be looking to do the exact same thing with, and it will be frontline staff handling inbound calls.
Okay, brilliant. Imran, do you have?
Yeah, I think I answered it at the time because I noticed it when I was speaking. I noticed the question come through. Essentially, all of our staff are multi-skilled, so they take calls, emails, or chats depending on how we schedule them on our TeleOpti WFM.
Okay.
True stuff.
Right.
So some of the questions have gone to different directions. Do the panel think that the medium of video chat, like we're doing just now, will become part of the new norm for businesses and contact centres in particular when communicating with their customers?
Anybody get any comments on that one?
I can have a go at that one if you want Anne to start with while
Yeah,
you
sure.
have a quick thing. So I was talking to a 111 provider this week, and we were sort of talking about how, in a similar sort of vein, that we've got channel shift in the traditional contact center type environments. In 111, I think we heard from Dan, for example, from NIAS on the call about how they're looking to capitalize and not go back to, and almost like reset the norm as a result of this. I think certainly 111 providers are looking at that kind of video chat technology as a way to keep people from the next acuity level along. So in other words, if you can keep people from the A&E department by having a video kind of chat, I think it's probably still early days, but I can definitely see it from the conversation we were having. I can definitely see that the thinking and the thought is there. And I think it's how speedily you can get that up and running and have all the governance that we've got around the other channels that are already in situ. So can you do all the recording around video? Can you do all the other things that you can currently do with voice and chat and asynchronous messaging? So I think it's there. It's whether people actually take the plunge.
Yeah. Interesting. Any other thoughts from any of you guys?
I think there'll be some resistance actually, especially from an agent perspective. I'm not convinced they'll like it. You already get them saying, I don't want my full name on chat and my full name on emails, and actually the brand we say, sorry, you got to have it. Whereas we know other brands say you can just put your first name, it's fine. But yeah, I'm not convinced of, that they want to see people, I don't want them seeing my house and how it looks and all the background and all the rest of it.
That's the other side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think from an agent perspective, I remember there was a part of a conversation we had earlier around, agent engagement and how it's impacted the rest of it. I mean, what I find is I speak to my direct reports a lot more often, but a lot shorter, quick calls, just keeping up to date with them and just how they're getting on. And actually, I love the fact that we're in a meeting and I'm waiting for X person. Okay, great. Let's add them to this call. They're available. I can see they're on green and they jump on. We answer a question. And so I find we're more engaged in that way. It's more dynamic meetings, if that makes sense. You don't kind of have to say, I'll take that away. You can kind of get someone involved in that call straight away if you see they're available, get the answer and get moving quickly. So internally, yes. Externally, I'm convinced.
Yep. That's another perspective on it. Yeah, I agree. I tend to agree with that.
Good answers. Thank you, folks. Right. So the next question then is, what have the panel observed in terms of the productivity of frontline staff working from home?
Oh, yeah. Me, Anne and Karen had a good chat about this. I think I've talked too much. I'll let Karen take this one.
Yeah, so I guess at the moment how we are managing those working from home staff in a pilot phase, it's very much just to make sure that we can deliver those calls and that they are benchmarked against the staff that we have within the office environment. There's a few differences, and I think actually across our business we're actually looking at productivity measures. And I think we're in a space now that we're thinking, as we've got more people working at home, what are our productivity measures and how do we get our people engaged in understanding what productivity is and how they improve their productivity, and what should those adherence measures look like, because I guess the adherence measures maybe do look a bit different, and should we face into that and look at that. So I think at the moment, because we've only got a small handful of users, less than 10, who are handling inbound calls. We will start to ramp that up next week and maybe be on to 40 users. At that point, we would expect the productivity to be much more aligned with what we're seeing in contact centre. But at the moment, we're load balancing call volume across 2 platforms. So I guess by next week, if I was talking to you now, then I would probably be saying something different, she says, hopefully.
George, you get any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've done the same as Carrie-Anne in terms of looking at what are our home workers doing, what are our office workers doing. We're now at a point where we've got 85% at home, and I think it's difficult to draw a comparison now because of the numbers we're talking about. In the same way, it'd be difficult when you're talking about very small numbers working from home. So we've you can't even look back to a few months ago because the world was totally different then. So it's very difficult to draw a comparison. But at the moment, we are broadly comfortable with how things are. I think we are quiet because our demand is low, but that is starting to ramp up. So I think any of those hidden, any poor productivity that's been hidden by the fact that we're being quiet is starting to show its face. So we're just very much monitoring it and keeping an eye on it. And listening out in call monitoring and speech analytics is also going to be important for us to understand how are our calls changing over time. But yeah, we're okay at the moment. I think productivity seems to be roughly in line.
Quickly from me then, from our side, everything's gone up. I mean, it's one of my biggest. Yeah, I said it previously, but not on this call. But transaction power is up, NPS scores are up, QA scores are up. I think there's an element of goodwill from customers, which is why NPS scores are up, but generally they're up significantly. So even if they drop down, we'd be surprised if they drop down below to pre-COVID levels. So we've done some analysis a few weeks ago before I went on some annual leave, and it was pre-COVID 4, 5, 6 weeks or something like that, and then post-COVID. And the difference was significant. And I think I've even made the operation managers believers now, after bugging them for years about getting on top of this transactions per hour. It would be hard for them to justify going back in the office and letting it drop. Let's put it like that. So it's good.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So moving through into the last few questions. Has anyone's contact peaks changed in the day? Now a lot more people are either working from home or have been furloughed. Historically, there's been a classic arrival panel, but it'd be good to know if this has shifted.
Yeah, I would say ours definitely has, and probably quite significantly. And what we've been looking at is, as we reduced our opening hours, we are now looking to extend them again. And as of next week, we will extend them, but not back to how we were 24/7. And actually, when I look at out of hours demand compared to what we had previously, it's so minuscule. And what we have seen is that actually a bit of a shift in that. So we seem to be more available when people need us, and people's demand seems to have shifted. Now, I think it would be really we need to consider that will probably change again as people start to get back to some type of normality. Therefore, they might need to, at the moment, they're probably free to speak to us during what we would class as kind of office hours, and there's less of a requirement. But we've definitely seen that the demand has changed, even in a web chat perspective as well. So actually, more people are looking to speak to us when we're available, as opposed to us not being available. But again, that might change. So it's really a watching brief for us.
Okay.
Good
Great.
answer.
Anyone else get anything to add to that, or is it a similar feeling?
No, very similar for me. We've changed our opening hours as well, reduced them temporarily. Looking at the volume of calls we get outside of our opening hours, where we would have previously been open, we are seeing a drop in callers trying to get hold of us, but that's all because our marketing's been changed, our website's been changed. We are going to put that back, as with Carrie-Anne, but I think it will take some time for those trends to change and for people to realise. And that's where I was saying about the volatility in our call arrival pattern. We need to react to that and make sure our schedules are appropriate. But the good news is, our people generally don't like those later shifts anyway. So bringing people in earlier has been a positive message. So if we need to keep doing that for longer, that's good.
I think you've just answered the next question there, George, as well, which was, do you have sight of calls which were attempted outside the opening window? When I think the answer to that is yes.
Yes, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, just in the interest of time, Paul, are there many more, or?
I have got one more.
Just one more, okay.
Right, because Scott Clifford did have his question answered. So all the thoughts seem to be about the workforce working from home, but are people considering their workforce management team working away from the office?
Good question. Do any of the SVL panel want to chip in first? You've been very quiet. Chris, do you want to maybe chip in something there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one for me to answer because I work from home typically anyway. So
All
it's
the time.
yeah, it's for me, it's kind of normal and hasn't really changed a lot from pre-COVID-19. But I guess logically, there's no real reason why a WFM person can't work from home. You know, it's scheduling, it's numbers, it's spreadsheets, that kind of thing. So in theory, it makes sense, but I guess, you know, George, Kellyanne, or Imran might be able to answer that better.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, I agree with you from, you know, the scheduling and numbers and spreadsheets, but I suppose from the people engagement point of view, that might be where it might differ slightly. I don't know, guys, what do you think? How do you feel about working from home as a planner?
I've got most of my team working from home at the moment, and that probably wouldn't have seemed possible, and probably not something I would really consider, that we could deliver a real-time workforce management solution from home. But we have done that, and it's actually worked really well, because what it's enabled me to do is have my team work a variety of split shifts. So from a real-time basis, we can cover lots of hours. It's allowed us to dedicate our time to things that maybe we don't always get the chance to do in the office. I do think we still need a face-to-face element. I think, you know, video calls definitely help that. I've got 2 people in the office and everyone else is working remotely at the moment. Oddly, the people who are working remotely can access more than they can in the office from a system and access point of view. So who knew it? So I've got, you know, one team member who's been a bit adverse about working from home, and he's actually came to me this week and said, you know, is there an opportunity that I would be able to partly do that? So I think people are beginning to really see the benefits of it. And, you know, as I said to my team, actually from a real-time perspective, they were all in one location managing 5 different sites. Therefore, they were working remotely anyway.
That's true.
So, yeah. So it's working for us at the moment.
Brilliant. George, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think for my team, we're predominantly forecasters, and it is more the numbers and spreadsheet stuff that Chris was talking about. And I think, you know, with that kind of work, it's very easy to sort of get on and get very stuck into it and forget about the interactions you normally have in the office environment. So we're going out of our way to, you know, have a bit more fun, have more regular catch-ups, and I think that's the most important thing for us at the moment. We see our Zoom calls now as basically those quick catch-ups that we'd normally have. So, you know, bumping into each other and talking about things, you know, talking about our days. So I think that's been the important thing to remember, is to do that kind of stuff as well as the, you know, the communication with other people around the business. Brilliant.
And last but not least, Imran, your thoughts around it?
Yeah, agree with Carrie and George on this. We again mainly spreadsheets and WFM and stuff like that. In fact, you know, I think the guys find it easier than not seeing all the agents. We're across 2 sites anyway, because they can make more unbiased decisions. If that, you know, I mean, naturally it's like, okay, if they know someone, they might be more inclined to give them a holiday order. But I just think that now it's just a name on a email or, you know, on a WFM sheet, and they just look at the numbers and say, does it make sense? Yes, it does. And they also love the fact that they don't get bugged. You know, yes, we've got Teams, but they can ignore that. But they can't ignore someone coming to their desk and saying, you know, that holiday I sent you, when did you send it? About 30 seconds before I came. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah, but, you know, it's one of them. So I think they love the fact that they don't get pestered about, you know, well, what's petty to them, but not to maybe the person booking the holiday, but you get the drift. So I think that they're quite happy about it. Like I said, Carrie's spot on. One of the people that I have, adamant, don't want to work from home. you know, and this person, we had to get them set up from working from home. Funny enough, they were on holiday, flying back when all this kicked off. So we were lucky they got a flight back, and we had to then supply a laptop because they were just adamant. And now he's one of them saying, can I work it from home more often? So
yeah, I know, just to add to that from our perspective, I mean, not from a planning perspective, but the same thing, you know, all of our staff are working from home, and I think it's really, really important, as you said, to have these touch points and catch ups with them, and, you know, look after their well-being. But we had a few people who were very resistant to working from home and had never done it before and thought, oh God, I don't want to do this. And now most people I speak to are really quite enjoying it. So I think there's lots of pros as well as maybe a few cons for some. But yep. So I think that's us then. If we answered all the questions, Paul.
That should cover all the questions, Anne.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thanks very much, guys, for taking more of your time. It's really appreciated. And this morning, obviously, the feedback I've had so far from some people has been really positive, excellent. It's been very well received. So thank you very much again, and I'll talk to you all soon.
So,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your
Bye.
evening. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Bye bye.